I do that every single time. It is now my signature problem. Welcome to Left Undone, everyone. My name's Kathy, and I mute myself all the time before I come on by here, and then I put myself on stage. Anyway, welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathy. Nice to see you all. If you're new here, please say hello in the chat. We have been following true crime for about 5 years on this channel. If you are new, I am I have this true crime channel. I also have a travel blog called Beyond the Empty Nest, where I travel to Greece mostly. And I am a registered nurse. I'm currently working hospice, case management. So I see people when they are dying. And I have 4 children and 2 grandchildren. And I wanted to come on today to talk about the Morphew case. Now, Barry Morphew was once again arrested. If you weren't following the case before, it's a really good time to start following it now because it sounds like it's going to actually get somewhere this time. And whoever's here, please say hello, everyone. You can hear me now, right, Moonlight View? I'm good? My audio's good now? Let me know. Okay, so we do have the indictment of Barry Morphew, and I wanted to just go over that. And there's also a video real quick that I'm going to play of him in court, and I will play that now as soon as we see. All right, you guys are here. I see you. Okay, cool. Let's play the Barry Morphew showing up. I believe it was the last couple days here. I'm going to share my screen and we'll play that of him looking a little bummed out, I would say. Let's see here. Hold on. Share screen. And Barry Morphew appears in Arizona court. And thank you, East Idaho News, for posting this. And we will give you a shout out and tag you in the description. All right. Here we go. Okay, ready, and let me hit play. There he is, looking as innocent as ever.
Good evening, sir. Can I get your name and date of birth?
Barry Morphew, 10/17/67.
Thank you, sir. And it does look like you are here today on a warrant from the state of Colorado, and they have indicated that they want to extradite you back to the state of Colorado. Did you get an opportunity to review that laminated card that was given to you today?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a choice to make here today. You have two options, and we're going to go over what your options are. So first, let's discuss what you're here for. There is, again, a warrant from the state of Colorado. They've indicated they do want to extradite you back to the state of Colorado related to an offense charge of homicide. In this case, you have the option of stating, I am ready to be returned to the state of Colorado. If you were to choose to do that, you would be waiving your rights to any hearings here in Maricopa County. You say, I'm ready for Colorado to come pick me up. If you choose to do that, you would be held here in the Maricopa County jails, non-bondable, for up to 30 days, giving Colorado 30 days to come pick you up. That 30 days would start tomorrow, so long as you do not have any local pending charges here in the state of Arizona. In the alternative, I could set a hearing here in Maricopa County on June 30th, 2025 at 1:30 in the afternoon. In this case, you would be stating you want to have an extradition hearing, and before you're extradited back to Colorado, you're demanding that both governors, the governor of Arizona and the governor of Colorado, sign a warrant requiring you to be extradited back to Colorado before you do that. That process takes about 60 to 90 days. That hearing that I would set here in Arizona is civil in nature, meaning you would not be entitled to court-appointed counsel, but you could hire an attorney at your own expense if you would like to for that hearing. If you were to choose that option, you are eligible for bond. In this case, you have a cash-only bond of $3 million. If you posted that bond, you'd have written conditions of release you'd need to comply with. You would also need to ensure you attended that hearing on June 30th. If you failed to appear at that hearing, you would now have a warrant out of Maricopa County. Your Colorado warrant would still be valid, and you would forfeit the bond that you posted. Based on that information, do you know what option you would like to do here today, sir?
I'd like to waive.
You'd like to waive your rights here today and go ahead and say you're ready for Colorado to pick you up? Okay. Since we are waiving some important rights, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you some important questions before we do that, and then we will get some of your signatures, okay? So, again, I just want to confirm you did read the waiver of extradition paperwork, which was that laminated card?
Yes.
Okay. And you do understand that you do not have to sign this paperwork?
Yes.
And you do understand that you have the right to an extradition hearing. That would be that hearing on June 30th?
Yes.
And do you understand that you have the right to hire a lawyer at your own expense?
Yes.
And do you understand you have the right to demand that a governor's warrant be signed by both governors of each state before you're returned?
Yes.
And do you understand that you would have a right to bail, in this case, a cash bond of $3 million?
Yes.
And do you want to give up those rights and sign this paperwork?
Yes.
And has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to sign this paperwork?
No.
And have you had any drugs, alcohol, or medication within the last 24 hours?
No.
I find that you are knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily signing this waiver, and I am also going to sign it. I am directing the Sheriff's Office to notify the requesting state that you are ready to return. The requesting state will have 30 days from tomorrow to pick you up unless you have local charges pending. If you have local charges pending, then the 30 days will not start until the conclusion of that case. Did you have any questions there?
No.
Okay. In just one moment, we are going to ask you to step up here. We're going to need a couple of signatures from you to indicate you are waiving those rights. Okay, are you ready for them? Yes. Okay, if you'll just come right over here, she'll tell you when to.
Yep, I went from 187 to 132 pounds in the last.
Possible explanation.
And the other thing that I remember that I was telling Garrett was that.
Okie dokie. So, it just went into another video. Hi, Ruby. Thank you so much for popping in. I know I scheduled this literally 20 minutes ago. So I do like the idea of maybe having live streams on Sunday. And I think I'm going to try to be pretty consistent with it as long as I'm here. It's pretty calm. Got grocery shopping done on Saturday, decompressed from work, all that kind of stuff. And then just gearing up to get back to work tomorrow. So, Ruby, hello, dear. I've got latte ready for her. You're so cute. All right. So Barry Morphew, let's talk about it. Now, Francie was kind enough to drop the indictment, the grand jury indictment, in the Discord. And so I haven't really read it, but you know what? Let's see. Hopefully this is going to stay. My battery's looking low on my camera. We'll see what happens. I may have to switch my battery out in a minute on the camera. It's on the charge, so it should be fine, but I'm not positive. It may not. Okay, we'll see what happens. If my camera goes out, I'll just go get a new battery. Okay, right now it's got a bar. Let's get this grand jury indictment up here. Let me share my screen with you on that, and we can talk about it. If my camera goes out there, it's just going to switch to my computer camera, but there's something in the way here because whatever. Okay, here we go. Let's share the screen. Grand jury indictment. All right. You guys see that okay? Yep. Okay. Let's go through it. Yes, long time coming for Barry. I was actually amazed. I thought this guy was going to get away with this. You know, I never was completely 100% sure that Barry did it, like a lot of people. But after we were talking about the tranquilizer in her system and that's what he had, I really do believe that this guy is definitely, and those daughters, oh my God, I'm sure they're still standing by their dad and not their mom. I mean, the problem with the whole thing was Suzanne was having an affair. So that puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? So thinking, you know, oh, there could be other avenues. But you know what? When it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's usually a duck. And it's usually the jealous husband or the jealous lover or whatever, you know, domestic violence. And I'm sure that this isn't the first time that Barry Manilow? that Barry Morphew has been evil to Suzanne. I mean, domestic violence, that doesn't just happen overnight, right? And it also brings me back to my friend. My best friend husband has gotten away with her murder. I'm 100% sure of it. I've known her since I was 16. She was shot in the right side of her head. She's left-handed, and they called it a suicide. And I know for a fact she wasn't suicidal. So I talked to her like 2 days before she died. And he got away with it. There was literally no investigation. So stuff like this just really triggers me. Like these guys that are walking around getting away with murder are just the worst of the worst. And I really hope that karma or whatever gets them in the end. Lions and tigers and Barry. All right, let's look at this. Okay, hold on. So Barry Morphew, murder in the first degree is the charge. And then it just shows that the grand jury in the year of 2025 selected and sworn by the authority of the people of the state of Colorado have brought this attached here too. Okay, it says. So count one, murder in the first degree after deliberation F1. On or about May 9th to May 10th, 2020, in or triable in the state of Colorado, Barry Morphew unlawfully, finiciously, after deliberation and with the intent to cause the death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Suzanne Morphew in violation of blah, blah, blah. Probable cause for count one is as follows. So, whoops. Let me see where you guys are. So let's go through this. I got to pop back and forth because I don't have my second screen up. So if I'm popping back and forth, I'm just coming over to see you guys' comments. All right. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've been here for 5 years. We really, really, really have followed the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case, but hopefully Lori is going to fade into the darkness and we can start really concentrating on a lot of other cases that deserve as much attention. Okay, back to here we go. Banner. All right. So let's find out. At 5:46 p.m. on May 10th, 2020, Mother's Day, so it's been 5 years, Sunday, Suzanne Morphew was reported missing to police by her neighbor. The last known person to see her alive was her husband, Barry Morphew, which is also a huge red flag. If you're the last one to see somebody alive, you better, get your alibi in order because that's never good. Never, never, never good. Never good, right? So, all right. So investigators responded to Morphew residence at 19057 Puma Path near Salida, Colorado, to investigate the missing person report. The house was locked and Suzanne Morphew was not home. Her vehicle was in the garage. Her blank vehicle was in the garage. There were no signs of forced entry and her bike was missing. Later that evening, her bike was located down a hillside off a dirt road between her house and Highway 50. The bike was located less than a mile from the Morphew home. On May 14, 2020, her bike helmet was located 10 meters off the side of Highway 50, approximately 1.52 west of the Morphew home and approximately 0.84 miles west of where her bike was located. Zoom in a little bit. All right. So, Barry Morphew was interviewed and told police that he set his alarm and woke up at 4:30 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. He told police that he left at 5 a.m. on May 10th, 2020 for a pre-planned work trip in Broomfield, Colorado. According to Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew was still asleep in bed when he left the house at 5 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. He told police she planned to ride her bike that day. Oh, what are you going to do today, honey? I'm going to ride my bike. Oh, okay, Barfew. Barfew. Let's call him Barfew. Barfew. Barry Barfew. He's a Barfew. Just Barfew. Not even Barry, just Barfew. All right. They obviously think they can prove it this time. And there was all that crap with the DA before, but that DA is long gone. So let's see. Upon arriving in Broomfield, he told police she planned to ride her bike that day. Barry Morphew stated that upon arriving in Broomfield that morning, he checked into a hotel before leaving shortly for the job site. He told police that he received a call around 5 p.m. on May 10th from his neighbor while physically at the Broomfield job site. The neighbors told Barry Morphew that his daughters were concerned because they could not reach Suzanne all day. Now, it's Mother's Day, so they clearly were trying to reach their mom to say Happy Mother's Day, right? So they were getting nervous. Barry instructed the neighbors to check the house and specifically look for her bike. The neighbors reported to Barry that neither Suzanne nor the bike were at home, and Barry then instructed them to call the sheriff. Okay, Barry. I got coffee and water, so. Police interviewed one of Barry's employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. The employee told law enforcement that the employee and Barry were not planning to leave for Broomfield until the evening hours of May 10th, 2020. They were supposed to drive together. Instead, Barry left without telling the employee. Barry called the employee at approximately 11:18 a.m. and informed that employee that he had left without them. When the employee arrived in Broomfield on Sunday evening, the employee noticed that Barry Morphew had failed to bring the proper tools with him for the job, and necessary materials for the job had not yet arrived at the job site. Now, there was just a comment, you guys, on, and I have a video on it. The guy, and it's drawing a blank on his name right now, that was there, was hired to work with Barry. His daughter actually just posted a comment under my old video, and she said, that's my dad. And apparently he's passed away now. So that was probably a big witness. But I don't know what happened to him, but he's no longer alive. We'll get to that, but let me get back here. So he didn't bring the materials that he needed for the job. He got there way early. He left without the employee. He knew Suzanne was going to ride her bike that day. Yeah, sounds pretty suspicious to me. Okay, review of the cameras at the hotel and nearby businesses revealed that Barry Morphew was in the Broomfield area for approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes. Of those hours, he spent less than 1/2 hour at the job site. Instead, besides 2 brief visits to the job site area, electronic evidence and camera from businesses show him driving around to various locations and discarding unknown items in separate trash cans, like Foodus Dolus and his girlfriend. Interesting, right? Hotel footage then showed Barry Morphew arriving back at his hotel room and remaining inside the room from approximately 12:34 p.m. to 5:55 p.m. Inconsistent with his statement to police, he was in the hotel and not at the job site when he received the call about his wife, Suzanne Morphew, being unresponsive and missing. I think they do support him. We'll see. But I'd be really shocked if they changed their tune. But they're probably freaking out right now, I would say. We'll play that all, "Oh, Suzanne, whoever has you, just come home," or whatever he played. That one makes me even more sick now that I'm reading this stuff about his little on camera begging her to come home. Like, such BS. Okay. Sorry, I'm already making a complete judgment here that he's guilty. And I usually try to be more neutral initially or more on the innocent until proven guilty side, but there's just too much here, you know? Okay. In the early interviews with Barry Morphew, he told law enforcement that his marriage to Suzanne was the best and that the two had a wonderful weekend together. When Barry was asked whether Suzanne would say anything different about the relationship, Barry stated, no, we're just living the high life. We're just fabulous. Everything's wonderful. Barry Morphew's statements about his marriage to Suzanne were inconsistent with the other witness accounts and evidence located. Specifically, investigators learned that Suzanne confided in people that she was unhappy in the marriage in the weeks and months leading to her disappearance. She discussed plans to divorce Barry with her close friend. She maintained documented notes of problems in the relationship recovered from electronic devices and the physical search of the Morphew home. Suzanne Morphew had been having a secret affair with an old acquaintance who lived out of state. She communicated with him daily over LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Suzanne's last known electronic messages to anyone was to this person on May 9th, 2020 at 2:11 p.m. Just 32 minutes before Barry Morphew returned home that day. Right. It was just, we didn't know much, right? Before. It was really weird. It was all just like, well, maybe, and where the body was found eventually. I have to say, I am always so freaking amazed when the bodies are found. In such remote areas, it just blows my mind. Like, wow, it's almost like a divine intervention kind of thing when a body's found because these people hide them. What's the one at Maya in San Diego? He hasn't gone to trial yet. I'm dying for them to find her body. Yes, Jeff was the boyfriend, right? Life vest in troubled waters, neglected by Barry. Yeah, I mean, they say men cheat for sex, women cheat for emotional reasons. And it makes sense, when you're feeling neglected and basically abused or whatever in your marriage. That person that will be kind to you like you want your spouse to be, it's almost like they just push you to the limit when it gets like that. All right. So Suzanne's last known electronic message to anyone was to that guy on May 9th, 2020 at 2:11 p.m., just 32 minutes before Barry Morphew returned home that day. An overall timeline of the week of Suzanne's disappearance shows that the disappearance coincided with her daughter, blank, the only other occupant of the Morphew residence, leaving on a pre-planned road trip out of state. Because of this, Suzanne Morphew and Barry Morphew expected to be alone at the residence starting on May 5th until either late in the day on May 10th or into May 11th, 2020. Suzanne Morphew drove blank to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th to depart with her sister and friend on the planned road trip. Oh, she drove, okay, that's a name. So Suzanne drove her daughter to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th, 2020 to depart with her sister, who was also going with her, got it, the other daughter, and a friend on the planned road trip. After May 5th, 2020, Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew were alone at the house. A forensic download of Barry Morphew's cell phone revealed that Barry Morphew had deleted a text chain with Suzanne Morphew from which an image of a single text remained. A screenshot of this single text message was saved on Barry Morphew's phone on May 6, 2020. That image revealed a text from Suzanne that stated, "I am done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." So this is exactly when they lose it. This is when my friend Pam, not to interject, but it's so much the same. My friend Pam left her husband in the fall. He made her come back because he was like, she came by California. They lived in Texas. He made her come back. We're going to work this out, whatever. Don't leave us here with, for the holidays. So her parents went back with her for the holidays. And so she went back at like Thanksgiving. She was killed on April 2nd. She had left him the night before. She got 200 miles away in her car with her dogs, and he somehow freaking convinced her to come back again. She was 200 miles away, staying at a hotel, and he convinced her to come back again because there was some birthday party planned for one of they were a blended family. So there's a birthday party planned for like the grandbabies, two of them from each side. And so she said, okay. And she went back. And that was the day she went and saw him at his fire station because he was a fire captain. And that was the day that she was found dead by him around noon. But she went there at like 5 a.m. Oh, hold on. I got to get my other camera. I got to get the battery. Just a second. Just a second. Hold, please. Trying to get this switched over. Hold on. My thing's being weird. Hold on. Don't go away. Okay, I should be good. Sorry, let me get back here. You guys hear me okay? The battery did die, so just let me know if you can hear me okay, please. And let me get this back up here. Okay, good, thanks. Anyway, not to get into a whole nother case about my friend, I still am so mad because they won't release all the FOIA docs to me, but she left that day and was found dead. And she went and saw him at the fire station and then went home to sleep because she had been driving 200 miles there, 200 miles back, blah, blah, blah. And then he went golfing after work because that's what you do when you're telling everybody your wife's gone crazy and tried to leave you and everything. You just, I'm going to go golfing after work. And then he came home and he found her body, and he apparently found her body. I think he got off that golf course, killed her, went back to the golf course, and then came home again. But anyway, let's get back to Suzanne because it's just so similar what these guys do, right? And I mean, I'm saying guys, but typically, right? Okay, back to Suzanne. Still makes me so mad. So let's just figure this out civilly is where we were. On May 11th, authorities commenced a search of the Morphew residence that spanned several days. The state of the residence and the vehicles showed no signs of break-in or intruder. Even with no signs of a break-in or intruder, law enforcement collected items of potential evidence and DNA swabs. DNA analysis of the swabs collected produced several DNA profile mixtures consistent with what would be expected in the common areas of a home or vehicle. The mixture profiles were processed through offender databases and were compared to the profiles of known individuals who may have been present in the vehicle or the residence. The results did not lead to any stranger or intruder suspects. Water. An expert in DNA analysis testified that law enforcement provided analysts with one of the partial profiles developed from the glove box of Suzanne Morphew's vehicle for further investigation using a keyboard search. This allowed for additional comparisons to profiles in more databases with less stringent quality control standards than the National DNA Index System for the limited purpose of creating possible investigative leads. That expert further testified that there were matches to outside databases nationwide. The term match, used by DNA analysis, does not mean identical. Rather, a match only means that there were other profiles that could not be excluded at the limited number of loci available from the partial profile comparison. The expert explained that she then compared the matches from those databases to the partial profile from the mixture on the glove box and excluded those out-of-state profiles as not originating from the same contributor in all but 3 instances. Finally, the expert explained that just because the profiles from those databases matched at the limited loci available for comparison, it did not mean that any of the people from out-of-state profiles were the same person that contributed the partial profile, oh my goodness, this is confusing, to the mixture on the glove box. Law enforcement investigated those 3 partial matches obtained from 3 separate out-of-state sources and found no connection to the case. We did hear that rumor for quite some time that there was a sex offender or somebody's profile match DNA in her car in the glove box or something like that. That must be what that's all trying to tell us there. But it was really confusing. I might have to read that again later. Okay. Law enforcement located a locked gun safe in the garage during the search of the Morphew residence. Inside that gun safe, law enforcement located a dart rifle or tranquilizer rifle positioned towards the front of the safe. Law enforcement also found packages of the, it's probably Peace Price Silent, new dart brand tranquilizer darts in the gun safe. The package of darts included capped hypodermic needles inside of them, which were designed to load the darts. Law enforcement found one of these needle caps in the dryer after the dryer's contents were removed. Law enforcement also found men's shorts among the contents of the dryer that were removed prior to finding the needle cap. The shorts appeared consistent with the shorts Barry Morphew was seen on video wearing on May 9th, 2020. Less than 1 hour before he returned to the Morphew residence. No tranquilizer formula was located during law enforcement's search of the home and the vehicles. Yeah. I know. Poor Suzanne. How horrible, right? Horrible. Okay. Let me keep going here. Police investigated numerous electronic devices and Suzanne Morphew's social media accounts, searching, among other things, for proof of life. The investigation revealed that Suzanne Morphew had not communicated electronically with any living person after 2:11 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. Her last possible activity on any account protected by password access was at 3:08 p.m., over 24 hours prior to her being reported missing. Records showing her typical use of electronics and social media demonstrated that this was inconsistent with her typical pattern of life in the days leading up to her disappearance. Additionally, witnesses indicated they attempted to communicate with Suzanne Morphew throughout this time frame, but received no response from her. These witnesses indicated that her lack of response was out of the ordinary. Barry Morphew's electronic devices were also analyzed. A download of the infotainment system on Barry Morphew's truck recovered telematics data showing the location of activity of his truck at certain times on May 9th and May 10th, 2020. A download of Barry Morphew's cell phone showed additional location information. Based on data from his cell phone, Barry Morphew returned to the Morphew residence at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. The data did not show his phone or truck leaving the residence until the morning of May 10th, 2020. I just keep coming back over here to say it because I don't want to miss any comments. You guys are just listening. Okay. The download of Barry Morphew's cell phone registered events related to his phone. An expert forensic analyst determined that some of these events were in fact Barry Morphew's phone being turned off during the time frame of May 9th into May 10th, 2020. Turning off a cellular device effectively disables its ability to record location information. Specifically, the forensic analyst noted that Barry Morphew's phone download showed it was turned off at 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, 2020, only a few minutes after he arrived home at the residence where Suzanne Morphew sent her last electronic communication to anyone. At approximately 10:17 p.m. on May 9th, the phone was turned back on. Barry Morphew's cell phone was again turned off at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, prior to him leaving the residence on his trip to Broomfield, Colorado, and was not turned on again until 5:37 a.m. when location information showed him on the road already in the area of Johnson Village, Colorado. Testimony established that the times Barry Morphew turned off his phone corresponded to periods of time of significance in the case where location information was consequently unavailable. Interesting. So here's my thought. Something happened right after he got home to Suzanne that day. He turned his phone off. Then he turned it back on, and then he turned it off when he went to hide the body. And when he turned it back on, he was already on the road to the job site. That's what I'm thinking, right? This is a lot. It's good stuff for him for this indictment, for sure. Similarly, further analysis of the information from Barry Morphew's infotainment system, the telematics, in his truck showed an irregular gap in recorded activities, specifically from approximately 3:49 a.m. to approximately 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. There is no recorded data registering on Barry's infotainment system. An indication of no truck activity from telematics is inconsistent with other facts developed from Barry Morphew's phone surveillance footage and Barry Morphew's statement about his activities on May 10th, 2020. Specifically, telematics data showed Barry Morphew arrive at his residence at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, then registered various other activities throughout the afternoon at the residence until it ceased at 9:52 p.m. on May 9th. The telematics data then showed activities resume from 3:25 a.m. to 3:49 a.m. on May 10th at a GPS location consistent with his driveway. Barry Morphew reported to law enforcement that he was asleep during that time frame from 3:49 to 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. The infotainment system, or telematics, did not register any data despite the fact that Barry Morphew's cell phone indicated the device was in Johnson's Village at 5:37 a.m. on that date, and Barry reported being in his truck traveling to Broomfield at that time. When recorded telematics data becomes unavailable again, when recorded telematics data became available again in the records from the infotainment system download at 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, corresponding GPS coordinates show that Barry Morphew had already arrived in the area of Broomfield, Colorado. This gap in registered data is inconsistent with the pattern of telematics data captured in the days and weeks leading up to this event. So he was able to turn that whole thing off somehow? Is that what they're saying? Let me look. I didn't realize till recently that Barry could have caught Suzanne while she was on WhatsApp with her boyfriend. Yeah, very possibly, right? That makes sense. Okay, keep going here. La la la. Phone records for both Suzanne Morphew and Barry Morphew were analyzed by expert investigators. The FBI CAST team analyzed phone records for both Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew to determine location information and device usage related to their cell phones. In Suzanne Morphew's phone records, there was no indication of any user-initiated activity after the time Barry Morphew returned home at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th, 2020. Suzanne Morphew's cell phone device continued to connect through RTT data with the cell tower that services the Morphew home throughout the night of May 9th into the early morning of May 10th. These automated data connections, however, were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initial. So we've heard this before, how that works. Yeah. The automated data connections, however, were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initiated by the user of the device. After 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, Suzanne's phone ceased to connect at all, ever again. Just 8 minutes later, Barry Morphew's cell phone data showed his phone ceased to connect, starting at 4:31 a.m., consistent with the cell phone download showing it powering off at 4:32. Suzanne Morphew's cell phone never registered on any towers other than the tower consistent with the Morphew residence from the time Barry Morphew returned home at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th to the time it ceased activity altogether at 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. Despite searches for this device, Suzanne Morphew's phone was never found. That's in a river somewhere, right? Like, So this is a lot. Like, this is way more than I ever imagined they had. So that's kind of crazy that it took this long, but they had to get their ducks in a row, I'm sure. Do you think he's going to bond out? I do. I think he's going to bond out. I think he'll find a way to get that bond money to get him out. It's going to be millions, but I have a feeling he'll be able to bond out. And then he's going to be stuck in with the ankle bracelet or whatever in Colorado again. And apparently he lives in Arizona now, somehow. Okay. They never found her phone. Whoa, somebody find that phone. Police interviewed people that knew Barry Morphew prior to his move from Indiana to Colorado in 2018. These witnesses told law enforcement that Barry Morphew was a deer farmer in Indiana. Several individuals told law enforcement that Barry Morphew used a specific tranquilizer called BAM, B-A-M, to sedate and transport deer on his deer farm. Barry Morphew admitted to using BAM in both Indiana and Colorado. Specifically, he admitted to using BAM in Colorado as recently as April of 2020, stating that at that time he had tranquilized a deer from the breezeway of the Morphew residence. On September 22nd, 2023, human remains were found in and around a shallow Calistine grave in Saguache County, I don't know how to say it, Colorado, near Highway 17. The remains were found a few hundred feet down a dirt road off Highway 17. This location was less than an hour south of the Morphew residence by main highways. The remains were determined to be those of Suzanne Morphew. The majority of her bones were recovered. Many of the bones were significantly bleached. Along with Suzanne's bones, law enforcement recovered a cancer she had a portacath, and items of clothing, some of which were consistent with bike clothing Suzanne was known to wear. There was no visible perimortem trauma observed. Because she had breast cancer treatments, so she had a portacath. A board-certified forensic anthropologist, a botanist, and an entomologist all analyzed the remains, and several observations were noted. There was a distinct lack of bug activity, which was inconsistent with the remains having decomposed at that location. The clothing items lacked evidence of decomposition, which was inconsistent with Suzanne Morphew wearing the bike clothes at the time her body decomposed. Additionally, there was a lack of animal predation on the bones. There was only a very small amount of desiccated soft tissue found on a few of the bones, and there was no hair mass located. All these features would have been expected if this had been the original grave site where decomposition occurred. The forensic anthropologist opined that based on these factors, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at this location. That fricker, he moved her. Wow. Crazy. They got a lot. Impressive. He moved her. When did he move her? And where did he move her from? It'd be interesting if they figured that part out. Okay, I'll keep going. Yeah. Ugh. The El Paso County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. In addition to the standard toxicology testing, the Coroner's Office conducted additional toxicology testing at the request of law enforcement for the presence of a chemical mixture known as BAM, or the combination of butyrophenol, azarperone, and metatotamidine. Sound like pharmaceutical names, generic, the ones that are hard to pronounce. The chief toxicologist tested Suzanne Morphew's bone marrow for the presence of BAM. All 3 of the individual chemicals that comprised of BAM were present. Additionally, the metabolite for butyrophenol was present. For butyrophenol was present. The presence of the butyrophenol metabolite eliminated the possibility of post-mortem BAM contamination. The metabolite's presence also indicated that her death was not immediately following BAM exposure because Suzanne Morphew's body had begun to metabolize the drug before she died. The coroner's office determined cause of death and manner of death as follows. Homicide by unspecified means in the setting of I'm not going to say that BAM stuff, and the BAM intoxication. Wow. Oh, thank you. Nice to have you, Joanna. Goddess. Nice to have you here. Thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. Thank you. This case is we started following it 5 years ago, and then Barry Morphew got released. Charges dropped with prejudice or without. What's the one? The one where they can recharge. That's the one he got. With prejudice? Yeah, meaning they can recharge him, and that's what's happening now. So he has been recharged, and he is in jail now, and they're going to transport him from Arizona back to Colorado. Okay, this is crazy though. She had that. He tranquilized her, you guys. And then what did he do? Something like, but she wasn't dead. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified about the toxicology testing done to determine the presence of BAM in Suzanne Morphew's remains, about the chemical compound itself, and about the possible effects of that compound in humans. The expert explained that the toxicology testing done by the coroner's office met scientific standards of reliability and accuracy. He further testified that BAM is a chemical mixture of 3 specific compounds used as a tool for sedating animals for medical treatment or movement. Back in 2020 and the years leading up to Suzanne Morphew's disappearance, BAM was sold only by only one company in the United States and could only be obtained by prescription from a veterinarian. BAM must be administered into the bloodstream through intravenous or intramuscular injection to be effective, as the skin and GI tract do not absorb it effectively. BAM does not cause sedation instantaneously. It takes several minutes to take effect. BAM is designed not to be lethal and comes with reversal agents in the prescription kit. So it has an antidote that comes with it if you do too much, I guess, or the animal isn't waking up. And yes, so it has to be a shot. It has to go through a needle into an IV, into a vein, or into a muscle for it to work. And that's why it's darts, right? Like these hypodermic needle darts. So like a shot, like a normal shot hypodermic needle that you get if you got a vaccination or something. Comes with reversal agent. So it's an antidote to it. It's like Narcan, a reversal agent. So you know how if you overdose on a narcotic like heroin and they can give you Narcan to reverse it, that's what this comes with. A reversal agent, an antidote to wake the person back up, or the animal. Clearly it's supposed to be an animal, not a person, but however, BAM is not FDA approved for any human use. I hope not. I don't want no people going around tranquilizing each other with a freaking dart gun. I didn't before I wasn't sure, let's put it that way, before when they brought these charges to him back 4 years ago. But now reading this grand jury indictment is like, wow. Barry, you should just plea. But yes, Ruby's right. We need more evidence to prove it. I usually try to be neutral on that kind of stuff, but this is really getting me, triggering me for sure. Like, what the freaking heck? Tranquilized her? And she has it in her system? Could she have accidentally got it tranquilized by it? No, I don't think so. Let's see, where was I? Not FDI approved for humans use. For that reason, there are no scientific studies available that address the possible effects the compound would have on humans. Yeah, not trying it out on humans, thankfully, I guess. The pharmacology expert testified that the compound would render the recipient wholly immobile, vulnerable, and unable to resist any constriction to the recipient's ability to breathe. So, a tranquilizer and then suffocate her? Records were obtained for BAM prescriptions related to Lori Morphew. Records were also obtained for BAM prescriptions for all persons within the counties and adjacent counties to where the Morphews live and where Suzanne Morphew's remains were located. Those records show that Lori Morphew obtained and filled several prescriptions for BAM while living in Indiana. Lori Morphew's last purchase of BAM by prescription was in March of 2018. Lori obtained multiple kits that each contained multiple doses just a few months before the Morphews moved to Colorado. Records further show that no other private citizens or private businesses in any of the surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions from 2017 to 2020. Yeah, this is very well regulated, it seems. Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the National Park Service were the only entities that received prescriptions of BAM in those counties from 2017 through 2020. Investigators learned that each of these government entities enforced tight regulations to monitor the BAM prescription storage and use. None of the BAM from those agencies were accounted for. Ultimately, the prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in the entire area of the state had access to BAM: Lori Morphew. So then they signed it. District Attorney. Lori Morphew, a.k.a. Lee Moore. He goes by Lee Moore. Have anybody heard that before? I haven't. Height 5'10". He's a male. Weighs 195 pounds. His hair is blonde. I thought it was gray. Eyes are blue. Okay. Maybe it's blonde. The court further orders this indictment be sealed until the arrest of the defendant, at which time the indictment shall no longer be sealed. And that's what happened. That's how we got it. Wow. Wow. My gut says he's guilty, but I always put myself as a juror. Yeah, to hear the evidence and stuff, you got to hear everything first, right? That unknown male DNA is interesting, but there's a part in there that I need to go read again because it was a little confusing about the glove box DNA, right? My gut says he's going to be a horrible job. Okay. Barry tranquilized deer and then removed their antlers. This is not only illegal, but horribly mean. The buck will be out of balance without its antlers, and the new antlers have to push stumps out. Oh, that's awful. Awful. Hi, Amber. He allegedly used that name while living in Arizona, Leemore. Oh, so that's a new one. That's new. Okay. There was a press conference. Let me see if I can find that. Let me find the press conference from Barry. I think it was last night, right? I listened to it. All right. Denver 7. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Commercial. Okay, hold on. I got it. We'll watch it. Let's watch the press. You guys want to watch the press conference? I know, pretty weird. The whole world's in Gilbert, Arizona. You know, I've actually considered living in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm like, maybe it's not a good idea. I used to live in Mesa and in Tempe years ago, but I have a lot of friends that actually live in Gilbert because when I was a flight attendant, I was based in Phoenix. And so we were I have a lot of friends that are still there. They work for American Airlines, so they're still based in Phoenix, live in Phoenix area, and some are in Gilbert. Okay, hold on. Let's watch the press conference, okay? Let me share. Share. Press conference. Here we go. And here we go.
I appreciate the members of the media that are here today. I scheduled this briefing to provide an update on the investigation that has been in the hearts and minds of the people of Chaffee County since Mother's Day of 2020. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing on Mother's Day 5 years ago. Law enforcement has never stopped working to obtain justice for this mother of two, this daughter, this sister, and this beloved member of the Chaffee County community. Through the tireless efforts of the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, the Saguache County Sheriff's Office, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I can announce today that the 12th Judicial District Grand Jury returned an indictment. The grand jury has indicted Barry Morphew on the single count of murder in the first degree. Law enforcement, the Chaffee County community, and Colorado as a whole has never stopped fighting for justice for Suzanne. Cold case homicides are tremendously difficult. They're difficult for the families of the victims and the communities who wait patiently for answers. While it may seem at times that the world forgets about these victims, I can assure you that my law enforcement partners and Colorado's law enforcement community do not forget. Every unsolved murder is a tragedy, and we must never give up on our efforts to find answers in these cases. My office will be prosecuting the indictment as Suzanne's remains were found in Saguache County, which is a county within my jurisdiction, the 12th Judicial District. I am extremely appreciative of Michael Doherty, who is the elected district attorney in Boulder County. He has consistently committed material resources to small rural DA's offices like mine to assist in the sometimes Herculean efforts to bring justice for victims in rural areas of our state. His commitment to rural Colorado he's continued his commitment with this case. He's provided me with the assistance of a chief deputy in the Boulder County District Attorney's Office to assist me with the investigation and the prosecution. Colorado's community of prosecutors is committed to assisting wherever the need arises. In addition to Mr. Doherty's assistance, District Attorney John Walsh of the Denver District Attorney's Office has committed to providing me with appellate guidance during the case proceedings. So today I have with me Chaffee County Sheriff Andy Rorick. I stand united with Sheriff Rorick and Under Sheriff Alex Walker. I stand united in announcing this indictment. Through this process, I have seen firsthand how deeply Sheriff Rorick and Under Sheriff Alex Walker and the entire Sheriff's Department in Chaffee County cares about this case. I am proud and appreciative of our cross-jurisdictional partnership and their hard and excellent work. I also stand with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who has never wavered in its commitment to this investigation, providing essential intelligence and investigative resources and expertise through the years. I also recognize and appreciate our continued partnership with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation has done incredible work, and their CBI agents and analysts have worked very, very hard to advance the goal of finding answers in this investigation. Here representing the CBI is Agent in Charge Chris Adams with CBI's Pueblo office. I also stand with Saguache County Sheriff Dan Warwick, who is here with me as well. He and his office immediately answered the call to action, when Suzanne's remains were found in the county he represents. Sheriff Warwick and his deputies are an essential part of this team, responding to the recovery of Suzanne's remains with the highest level of dignity and professionalism. I also want to continue to recognize what I have come to expect in my years as a prosecutor, and that is multi-jurisdictional and multi-state cooperation and partnership. I want to recognize the Arizona Department of Public Safety, who immediately responded to our team's request for assistance in locating and arresting Barry Morphew in the Phoenix area. Mr. Morphew will be held by Arizona authorities pending extradition proceedings in that state. And upon conclusion of those proceedings, Mr. Morphew will be transported to Alamosa County to stand trial on the indictment. This indictment has been unsealed upon the arrest of Mr. Morphew. I asked for this briefing to provide you with an update and provide information to the community. Me and my team recognize the importance of being laser focused on the prosecution and to speak with one voice. And so for that reason, all of the agencies that have been involved in getting us to this place, as well as the prosecutors that have been willing to assist me in this investigation and prosecution, they have all been instructed to send any media requests to my office. And so that's what I'd ask of you. In an effort to be transparent, I'd like to thank the the Office of the Judicial District in this district for making the indictment immediately available. And so you can get a copy of that indictment on the State Judicial's website. It is linked on a page labeled Cases of Interest, and it's under Alamosa. Barry Morphew is presumed innocent in this case and that presumption remains with him unless and until he is convicted at trial. And so once again, thank you for allowing me to provide an update to the community on this very important case. And I can take a couple of questions if you have them. Yes, sir.
What was Barry doing in the Phoenix area?
And thank you for the question. The question was, what was Barry doing in the Phoenix area? I appreciate the question, and that information was still being gathered. We have been working very, very hard to make sure that we run down anything we can with respect to this investigation, and our law enforcement officers will certainly be following that. Yes, sir.
In the indictment, you noted that pharmacology expert testified that BAM would render the recipient unable to resist any constrictions to the recipient's.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful here. You know, I don't waste time, and I definitely don't waste money. I joined Start Engine as a strategic.
Do you believe the dosage of BAM was so great it killed her, or that she was so incapacitated she was strangled or something?
And thank you for that question. I am looking forward to having our team present all of those facts in a court of law. Obviously, I would like to be able to provide my comments, but my ethical obligations will not allow me to. However, I am very appreciative of the Judicial Department for making that indictment available, and I look forward to having our team present this case in court. Yes, ma'am.
Why now?
That's a great question. And so we as prosecutors in Colorado and law enforcement in Colorado, we are very dedicated to making sure that we don't forget the victims of cold case homicides. But we also understand that it is so important to make sure that we have done everything we can to bring a case to court. And we are proud of the work that we've done. Every victim of homicide, murder in Colorado deserves that kind of attention, deserves that kind of work from law enforcement. And I would say that having the opportunity to work on these cases and to bring justice for these victims has been very important to me. Yes? Yeah, let me.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Was Morphew surprised at all when he was taken arrested? Was he expecting this?
And thank you for that question. The question is whether or not Morphew, what Mr. Morphew's reaction was. And I can tell you that that's going to be part of the case, and we look forward to presenting that in front of a jury. Yes, sir.
So the male DNA was found in Suzanne's car. Are you guys moving forward? Are you guys using that evidence for this trial? Tell us more about that.
And thank you for that question. The indictment has a wealth of information about that particular topic, as well as the probable cause that supports the arrest in this case. And obviously, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that justice is done for Suzanne. And that includes being as thorough as we can about the facts of the case.
Another question. When you arrest Barry in Arizona, so that's still investigating right now with Arizona law enforcement?
So the Arizona Department of Public Safety has been an incredible partner for us. They organized immediately when we asked them to respond when we received the indictment. So I very much want to thank the Arizona Department of Safety. What about you, sir?
What will be the biggest difference between the prosecution of this case and the time versus back in 2021?
And the question is, what would be the difference between the prosecution of this case and other prosecutions? You know, justice for cold case homicide victims remains a priority in the state of Colorado, both for prosecutors and for law enforcement. And that's despite any challenges that we may have had in the history of any particular case. That remains a priority for us. And so we have worked very hard to move forward in the case. This case is a different case, and I would refer you back to the indictment in this case. And we've worked very hard to move forward. Yes, sir.
On an emotional level or on a personal level, and it's okay if you repeat yourself, can you talk about the journey, your journey from the day this was dismissed until today? Just broad strokes. Just tell us that story.
Well, thank you for that question. The question is, what has this process looked like, essentially? What has this process been like for the family, for the community, for our law enforcement partners? And I can tell you that it has been a long road. It has been a long road, and the families of the victim have been so patient. The community has been so patient. But I can tell you that our law enforcement officers have never forgot, have never given up, and they have been working so hard to get to the place where we are today. And so it is never enough to say we're just going to forget about it because it's too hard. And so that has been the process for me. And I'll take maybe one more question here in the front.
Can you elaborate further on where Suzanne's remains were found in relation to Moffett? I know it's undisclosed, but can you provide more detail on where she was found?
So it was in and around the town of Moffett, and that raises an important question that I want to address. And so the remains of Suzanne Morphew were found in Saguache County, and that's obviously a county in my jurisdiction. And so jurisdiction in this county is appropriate. I can tell you that I have reached out to and contacted my friend and colleague, elected District Attorney Jeff Lindsay, who currently covers Chaffee County. He is in full support of our efforts to prosecute this case here and has committed to providing any resources that we need to prosecute this case.
How did you know? Morphew was in Arizona?
And the question is I'm sorry, can you say that again?
How did you know Barry was in Arizona?
And I appreciate that question. We obviously have never given up on this investigation, and so working with our law enforcement partners, we were able to make that determination.
Could anyone else possibly face charges?
So right now we have the indictment in front of us, and we're committed to working hard to get that done. So, and this will be the last question. Thank you so much.
Just one last question. From a community perspective, this community's been through a lot with the district attorney's office, and we've watched you take it over and repair it, stand here with law enforcement, something this community might not have seen in the past. We've watched you build a staff. Now we're at the point where we've got all kinds of television cameras here because you've done what you've done in this particular case. Speak to what kind of satisfaction you have and gotten here, and is the job done with your staff, and can you now move forward?
Well, and thank you. The question relates to the status of our district attorney's office and how where we've been in the last 3 years. And thank you for the question. The effort that we undertook to come to the San Luis Valley, that I undertook to come to the San Luis Valley and build the district attorney's office was quite tremendous. But I can tell you that the collaboration of prosecutors across the state to assist me, to assist my staff, to assist law enforcement has been absolutely tremendous. It is a testament to how strong our law enforcement community is and how united the prosecutors in the state of Colorado are. And so assisting me in building the office in the San Luis Valley, that is a testament to the assistance that I've received across the state. So thank you for the question.
Thank you for what you've done.
One last question. And when do you expect Gary Morphew to show up in court?
Thank you. So he's currently being held by the authorities in Arizona. He will go through a process of extradition, and when that process concludes, he will be then transported back to Colorado. So thank you so much.
Put some questions up I want to look at. First one, Barry purchased a trailer at Trailer Park in Cave Creek. I confirmed via search of Maricopa County records a while back. Interesting. So he's living in a trailer park in Gilbert. I know, right? Hi, Jean. Been listening on high speed. I'm caught up now. Good to see you too. Thank you so much for being here. Jean, I left Ann Kelly a message about 9 months after Suzanne's remains were found, asking her for updates and justice for Suzanne. Good for you. Thank you for being proactive. That's awesome. Barry had a trailer in Gilbert hiding out, right? That's what you said. Okay, got it. And it's true. Kathy, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. Very similar thing happened to my sister. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry it happened to your sister. Did somebody get away with that murder too then? Oh God, I hate that so bad. Ugh. Yeah, I was on it for a while, but Pam's parents are elderly, and I think it was just getting too much to keep, pounding the pavement to try to get answers. And her daughters were like, she was just sad and blah, blah, blah. And everybody bought into the BS. I mean, not everybody, but just like Barry Morphew's daughters, which really blows my mind. Again, another similarity. I feel like Pam's daughters just were like, yeah, no, there's no way that he would have killed her, our stepdad, which the evidence is there, but the detective did nothing right. They didn't even do an investigation. They were like, oh yeah, there's some Levi the rocks in here. She's got her thyroid medicine. Nothing. This was one of those Mother's Day cases that stick in my mind very much like Echo Lloyd. Echo Lloyd still needs attention. Echo Lloyd has never been found. And her daughter, I still follow her daughter on Facebook, and they were getting the Tim, what's their name? The people that come out and search. that was going to be happening. Recently, I saw her post about that. They, what's the name of their company with his name is Tim, and they come from Texas, Equisearch, something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't heard any updates since, but man, and that guy, that neighbor guy or whatever, I'm convinced that he had something to do with it. And again, somebody just getting away with it. Horrible, horrible. Let's see. I live in Fremont City, about 50 miles east from where Suzanne lived. I followed this case from day one, back from the very beginning. You are close by. I'm back in my hometown in the Show Me state. We got sound now, right? That's not something that happened. That was from before when I was being a knucklehead. I do it all the time. You guys are just like, Kathy, no sound. I was going to attend Barry's trial until it was dismissed a week before it was supposed to start. Oh, were you? Yeah, well, somebody needs to go this. Hi, Christian. Thanks for being here. Barry went from riches to rags. Pretty much, huh? Hiding out amongst the regular people, the not so rich people, hoping nobody would know who he is or what he was doing. So Barry Morphew was initially arrested and charged with Suzanne's murder in May of 2021. The charges were dismissed in April of 2022, just before the trial was going to begin. The reasons for the dismissal: prosecutorial misconduct and discovery violations. God, it sounds like this DA is really going by the book, and she's not going to let any kind of crap like this happen again. But the judge in the first trial barred prosecutors from calling several key expert witnesses because they repeatedly failed to follow rules for turning over evidence to the defense team in a timely manner. This included crucial evidence such as DNA from the unknown male found in Suzanne Morphew's SUV. And the former district attorney, Linda Stanley, was later disbarred for her mismanagement of this case and other misconduct. So that's, huge. They effed it all up. I mean, they really did. Sister's death was a staged suicide while going through a divorce with her abusive husband. So I did have a private detective guy that I was working with. They were all voluntary pro bono, and he said suicide is the new homicide. It happens so much more than people realize. Equisearch, exactly, that's what it is. Amber, Cave Creek, Arizona is where his trailer is that found records on. It's about 40 miles from Gilbert. I wonder if he moved recently to Gilbert. Right, Cave Creek is I feel like Cave Creek's on the other side, like past Scottsdale the other way. And then Gilbert is like past Chandler. It's been a long time. I used to live there, but I think that's how it is in my head. I could be completely backwards. I'd be curious who the attorney is doing Barry's defense pro bono. Oh, is there an attorney doing his defense pro bono? I missed that. And the lack of her remains was the other reason why it got, when Barry's case was dismissed, the remains hadn't been found, which is kind of big. Like a no-body homicide is a lot harder to prosecute, right? Now there's a body, and there's evidence, and there's bam, right? So at the time the charges were dropped, Suzanne's body hadn't been found yet. So prosecutors stated that they wanted more time to locate her remains, and thankfully they did, which they would believe would strengthen their case, which clearly it has. Okay, that was it. The dismissal was without prejudice, meaning the prosecutors could refile charges against Barry Morphew at a later date, which is what's happening. And that's exactly what happened this week. After Suzanne's skeletal remains were discovered back in 2023, the new indictment comes with a significant new evidence of her body and the toxicology findings from it, which is huge. Huge. That is a godsend. And it is a sentence send to Barry to live somewhere. Does Colorado, is it a death penalty state? And would they be pursuing the death penalty? Does anybody know? Many criminals get away with a lot due to Stanley's consistent discovery violations. She's a piece of work. Linda Stanley was also involved in a flood case in Fremont County where a baby died died. See, so there's more to her than, wow, that's a craziness. You'd think the DA would be the most by-the-book person there is. In my mind, I would think, but guess not, huh? Guess not. I have a video that I've been working on for a couple weeks. It's an old case. I'm going to hopefully get it posted today. No death penalty in Colorado. Okay, that's what it is. I thought that's what I heard. And it's an old case, but I always gravitate towards any of these that have to do with maternal health. And this is a postpartum psychosis case. Dina Slosher. So I'm going to post that today. I'm also going to work on a case that's come forward to me about a flight attendant that was murdered. They said it was a murder. American Airlines flight attendant that was found dead in her hotel in Philadelphia in 2023. And I'm in all these flight attendant Facebook groups and stuff because I was a flight attendant and I worked there. America West was what I worked for, but America West, and they merged with US Air, and then they merged with American. So if I had stayed there all these years, I'd be an American Airlines flight attendant. But they posted, and they're tagging people like Kendall Ray and Bailey Serene, whatever, all those big people. And I was like, I'm no Kendall Ray, but I do have a decent following on YouTube, and I would love to talk about this case. So I am going to work on that. Her name was Diana Ramos, and it's horrible because clearly there were no cameras on the floor. Let me just tell you a little bit about the email that was sent to me about it, because I want to look more into it. If you guys know anything about it or find anything about it, let me know. Diane Ramos, yeah. So the person that's doing the justice for Diane Ramos sent me this email, and she was a previous flight attendant in the last couple of years, 2022 to 2024, this one. But Diane Ramos has been a flight attendant for a long, long, long time. And it says, the Philadelphia Airport Marriott Hotel is the hotel that Diane was found in. Because the hotel is connected to the airport, once the plane lands, the crew, which is typically 2 pilots and 4 flight attendants, can scatter and make their way to the hotel at their leisure. Because usually when you have a layover, if the hotel's not connected to the airport, which is kind of rare that it is, but there are some, the hotel sends a van and the crew goes together. And back in my day, the crew never separated. We didn't separate. We actually would go in each other's rooms when we got there and look under the beds and the closets and everything to look out for each other. Times maybe have changed a little bit, but yeah. So Diana was 66 years old at the time of her murder, and she worked for American for over 25 years. She was from Nevada and was a mother, wife, and grandmother. Her husband passed away about a year before her death, and despite the devastating loss, she showed no signs of depression. Diana loved life. Diana and her crew checked into the hotel on September 25th, 2023, which was a Monday. The next morning, her crew gathered in the lobby and then made their way to the airport, which is connected to the hotel, like I stated above. When the crew realized Diana was not present, they contacted American Airlines. I do not know what actions the company took, if any, which is bizarre to me. Like somebody wasn't beating down the door and going in the room and trying to find her. Because American Airlines is strict and not concerned, she's very angry, for their employees, they sent a replacement flight attendant. So there are flight attendants on reserve that are ready at the drop of the hat, that are in airports waiting to go if somebody doesn't show or somebody gets sick or there's some problem or the flight crew goes illegal because they've been working too long. So they always have a group of flight attendants on reserve waiting, and then they also have some at home on reserve waiting. So American Airlines is strict, not concerned. They sent a replacement flight attendant. So they sent a reserve flight attendant to cover for Diana's absence and did not investigate where she was. I'm not sure if the American Airlines scheduling department called her or not. That Monday, hotel staff did not search for her. Oh, she didn't show up on a layover. Like, isn't that a little suspicious? You're on a layover. It's not like you didn't come from home. You're on a layover. You're in the middle of a trip. These trips can be 2, 3, 4 days long. And she just didn't show up. That Monday, the hotel staff didn't even search for her. And she was quickly forgotten until 2 days had passed. The cleaning crew unlocked Diana's room and found her deceased with a t-shirt shoved halfway down her throat. The cleaning crew contacted authorities. It was stated that there was no forced entry, which indicates Diana willingly opened the door for a predator, unbeknownst to her that they had a motive. There were prescription pill bottles laid on her nightstand. The media had to add that detail, even though it has nothing to do with the case, right? Again, there's your thyroid medicine sitting there, your blood pressure medicine, and they're like, oh, there are prescription bottles. Like, who's not on at least one prescription when they're in their 60s? There's going to be prescription bottles, right? The media just had to add that detail, even though it has nothing to do with the case. The media, news articles, likes the public to assume a lot of cases are suicide cases, as we were talking about, when that is not the case here. The police don't want the public to think there's a murderer on the loose, but there is. American Airlines did not do an investigation and showed very little empathy towards Diana's family. I want to add that Diana was staying on the 4th floor, which is one of the only floors in that hotel that does not have security cameras. Sounds like somebody that knows the hotel pretty darn well, right? That the American Airlines floor doesn't have security cameras. I found out through Diana's grandson that Diana's cell phone pinged several miles away from the hotel. This means someone, most likely the killer, took her phone. The news articles state it was a cloth found in Diana's mouth, but that's false. It was a t-shirt. So I'm going to work on that. There's a whole lot of more info. Flight attendant found dead with sock and mouth. They said Diana. So so that one will be coming up. There's an article in the New York Post. First pictures of American Airlines flight attendant was found dead in hotel room with cloth in her mouth emerged. So there's a lot more that I got to dig and try to make a video on that. So I will be working on that. Ramos her crew was based in Los Angeles. So she was an LA based crew. So she was just on a layover all the way across the country, which is typical and normal. Let's see. All right, so that's what I'm working on. Let me go back to your question or your comments here. Barry must be broke to accept a pro bono lawyer trying to make a name for himself. That's so crazy. Yeah, he must be broke now. I know there was some sell the property but remember when Linda Stanley went live on Mike King's YouTube channel to talk about Suzanne's case? Oh my God, that's right. A little inappropriate. Yeah, you think? Colorado abolished the death penalty just before Barry was arrested the first time. Okay, it's coming back to me now. I think I do remember that. I love you were a flight attendant. That's what I wanted to be, but ended up going into the dental attendant field. Yeah, so I was a flight attendant, then a nurse attendant. We kind of are the same, right? Kind of personality people. I did it until I had my first kid, and then I was like, I don't want to be gone if the child gets sick. I don't want to be in Philadelphia when my kid in California gets sick. I want to be able to go pick him up from school like you would if you get called, hey, a kid's sick. Oh, well, sorry, I'm in Philadelphia. I'm wherever, or out of the country or something. So I did quit. And then I went back when my youngest was in high school. I did go back and I went and worked at United, and I was based in San Francisco at first, which was pretty easy to get to because there's 5-6 flights a day on United, more. And I had a crash pad up there. But then I transferred to LA, and it was actually a big mistake because it was almost harder to get to work in LA than it was to just grab a plane from Orange County to San Francisco. And I wound up quitting again because it wasn't working out with my life. I was hoping to still be a nurse at the same time, but the reserve schedule was awful. So anyway, I quit. And it paid shit. I needed money. I was like, oh, I'm broke. I need money. I got to pay my bills. Definitely suspicious, yeah. There's serial killers and predators in every city, statistics say. Yes, there are. And it's scary when you're out and about, so this false sense of security, I think, sometimes when you're out and about in the world. They say walk with purpose. Don't be looking distracted on your phone or anything while you're walking through a parking lot or whatever, makes you a good target. I would love to see you cover the flight attendant case. I'm definitely going to. I'm going to work on that. And it's just, I posted on my Facebook, but I don't think they saw it because I did for a share. But to my friends that are flight attendants at American, I wanted to see if they would give me any info about the layover and stuff. Yeah, nobody even really saw it because it was a share. Anyway, I'll have to tag them. What a horrific case. Yeah. And the fact that she wasn't found for a couple days, they just leave those hotel rooms for a couple days. Is that weird? That's weird to me. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. Random victims. Yeah, it's just there is an interview with her grandson on a channel that I was given a link to with Diana's grandson, talking about her. And it's clearly one of those cases that somebody's getting away with murder. And I'd be curious to see anything else that's going on in that Philadelphia area, or is there anything else with that hotel? It's worth digging into. Definitely worth digging into. So I'm working on that. And I also want to do a video on the woman that was just found guilty of murdering her father of her children, Gregory Rice. And her name is Megan Jackson. And that story is just crazy. So I have a lot of info on that. I followed it. The trial was really short, and she was found guilty of murdering him. And her accomplice was the guy she was having an affair with, and he was a deputy coroner. So there's a lot of cases that are worth talking about, for sure. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here and popping into my unexpected live on a Sunday again. Keep your ears out. I'm going to try to do it as much as possible. It's really hard to schedule sometimes, but I'll try to give you as much heads up as I can. And thanks so much. And don't forget, we have memberships. Hi, Juicy Jules. We have memberships. We have our Discord. I know Discord is complicated for some people, but we're always somebody's posting things in there with the latest info and things that happen. In fact, that's how I saw Francie had posted the indictment in there. So I was like, oh, well, it's Sunday and I got some time. So let's talk about it. And let's get justice for Suzanne, justice for Diana Ramos, justice for so many people. Finally, justice for Brandon Boudreaux and Charles and the kids, and that'll never bring them back. But Lori needs to be locked away forever and ever and ever. So I do appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And stay safe and stay well. And I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.